Season 50, war number 1, and we are up against Sålty. And real quick before we get into the actual video, I just wanna point out that I have pinned a comment down below explaining why I haven't been uploading, well, anything for a bit. Anyways, this time my team will be Angela, Kate Bishop and Odin, and I will be taking Path 2 in Section 1, Path 1 in Section 2, then I will be taking a Shocker, Spot and Arcade miniboss, and that will be it for this war. Now, I don't have quite as many fights as I usually do, but that's not really a complaint on my end. I had other things to worry about when we were playing this war, so that's also why I'm fighting very late. So first off here we have a Mr. Fantastic on the Drip Feed Placebo and Shatter nodes, and I will be taking the fight with Kate Bishop. Now, Kate Bishop is not a tactic attacker, and Mr. Fantastic here is a tactic defender, so I have nothing to counter the auto block in this fight. That in itself is not really an issue, since hitting into the opponent's block does pause Kate Bishop's arrow effects, so I'm gonna be utilizing that to keep the cold snap paused and just letting that melt the defender. The evade is completely countered by the cold snap effect itself, so that is nothing to worry about. Now, one thing that is a bit annoying on this placement is that the special 1 on Mr. Fantastic inflicts a stagger debuff, and whenever that nullifies one of the placebo buffs, I will take damage from the Shatter node, so I will have to use a potion here, but overall the matchup itself wasn't too difficult to take. So healing up Kate Bishop here for the next fight, which is a Kindred on the Combat Deja Vu Placebo node, and I will be taking it with Kate Bishop. Now, this Kindred is essentially nodeless, though I do need to try to alternate my basic attacks so I wouldn't be getting too many placebo buffs on myself, because, well, there is still the issue of Mystic Dispersion on a Mystic Defender, and Kate Bishop doesn't really have any power control. So to avoid any issues with that, I'm just trying to alternate every hit so I wouldn't gain any of the placebos. Other than that, the cold snaps, as usual, will just melt the defender, and now I'm gonna save a special for the root phase. It triggers, I made a special, made a heavy, throw my own special to cut the root short, and finish the fight down, without taking any of the annoying degen damage in the process either. Now, my apologies if I can't speak properly today, but as we know, it has been a while since I've been uploading videos, so I'm a little bit rusty, and yeah, English is difficult. Anyways, next up we have a Mysterio on the Never Back Down node, and I will be taking this fight with Angela, who is a very powerful attack tactic champion for this meta. But before I go in the fight, I went ahead and threw on Odin's pre-fights, all 3 of them, so I have as many unique buffs as possible. Now, having unique buffs isn't really needed for this specific matchup here, but it will come in handy for a hazard shift fight I will be taking in a little bit. So for this fight, the aptitude is nice to have, but the rest don't really do anything. Now, the defense tactic that we have had for almost 2 full seasons now is a little bit annoying to deal with, since it is RNG based at the start of the fight, but as soon as you get that clarity up, it basically doesn't exist, and, well, as you can see, Angela here is just melting the defender. Angela herself doesn't really shut down the Never Back Down regen here in any way, except the Despair Mastery with those armor break debuffs, but even then, as long as I just didn't spam my dash back, there's not much regen to actually deal with anyways, and the fight went down without any bigger problems. Mysterio can be extremely annoying to fight against, but, well, he's been out for years, I've fought him plenty of times in the past, so I'm used to it at this point. Then we have a Photon on the Buffet over Time node, along with Arc Overload, and I'm taking this fight with Kate Bishop. And once again, Kate Bishop doesn't exactly counter the nodes in any way. All she has for this one is damage, and that's basically the only thing I need against a Photon. That said, Photon is not really an easy defender to take down, but I am pretty comfortable taking the fight with basically anyone. Now the regen here does make it even sketchier, since it's not gonna be as fast as it would be without it. So I really need to play my cards right and not get comboed like I did at the very start there, because the more chip damage I take throughout the fight, the scarier this gets. I also, for whatever reason, couldn't fully dex the special 2, which usually isn't a problem for me, but luckily it didn't crit, so I didn't get completely destroyed by it. Then I also mismanaged the Pure Light form charges. I can't actually remember what they are called. I didn't manage them exactly the way I was supposed to, but I managed to wait out the whole Pure Light form without needing to bait any specials, which is the idea usually when fighting this champion. Now at this point the fight is essentially over if I can just avoid triggering dexterity for the rest of the fight, just let the cold snaps do the work, and one more special 2 will finish the job. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't clean, but it worked out, and that was the final fight where I needed Kate Bishop, so I don't even need to waste any potions on her either, which is nice to say the least. Then we have a shocker here on the power snack and 1 too many hits mini-boss node, and I will be taking the fight with Angela. Now Angela's sick ability does lower the opponent's nullify ability accuracy for each unique buff you have, however it does not trigger at the start of the fight, so the Odin pre-fights I had just got immediately nullified right off the bat, and yeah, it sucks. I knew that it would happen, but we didn't really have any other better options that we knew of for this fight. So Angela it is, and even that said, my Angela is only sick 40, so she does need quite a few buffs to shut down the power sting or the power snack node here completely anyways, so you will be seeing it trigger every now and then, even with all the buffs I currently have. Now, I already got stun-locked for a bit. I got actually really lucky that I didn't get fully stun-locked to death, and yeah, at this point I'm just lucky to be alive. I'm trying to play it as slowly and safely as possible at this point, just so I can finish the fight without a death, because at this point in time, if I die, the war is done and we will lose. So there is a ton of pressure on me for taking these fights, and my heart just about dropped in that fight as I ate the special 2. Somehow I didn't get killed because of it, but I might as well have, because it was just that big of a mistake against a very, very annoying defender. Now, next up we have a spot on the Hazard Shift, Poison and Incinerate, or Incinerate and Poison mini-boss node along with stun immunity, and I will be taking this fight with Angela. Now I still have the Odin pre-fights now, since they don't get completely removed off of the champion due to the power snack node, so I will be able to take advantage of those unique buffs for Angela's sick ability, which also lowers the duration of the opponent's damage over time debuffs. Now with all the buffs I have currently on me, any Hazard Shift debuff I trigger is just immediately gone. It'll expire instantly, so I will not have to worry about that node at all. All that is left is just Spot's basic kit, which is easy enough to play against. I just gotta keep baiting special 1s, punishing them properly to disable his spot gain. If he can't gain spots, then he can't trigger the untouchable, and without the untouchable, he doesn't do all too much. Now as you can see, Angela here is hitting very hard already. She is fully boosted. I do have the Odin synergy, which increases buff potency for each fight your team has won. And at this point I have won a few. So all the regions, furies, armor ups I get, they will be even more potent than they would normally be without the synergy. So it is nice to have whenever possible. Now one more hit, 24k crit, and down he goes. Spot on Hazard Shift is simple enough for an Angela, especially Awakened. Unduped I would not do that fight. It's not a smart idea. So a few last potions here before the final fight of the war, an arcade on the Conflictor and Combat the Show Prowess miniboss node, and I will be taking the fight with Angela. Now this was the very first time I'm fighting arcade in war, and I was very nervous, but I had done plenty of duels. I figured out exactly how this guy works, and it turns out he's actually not too difficult to fight against. Now of course here I do need to worry about the defense tactic, so I'm only doing a couple hits while he is stunned to avoid any auto blocks until I get the clarity passive, and now I don't have to worry about the tactic itself. Now the way you usually should fight against arcade is to only bait his special 2s, dex the very final hit of the special, because that is what gives him those tokens, the yellow icon you see below his health bar, and that is what he needs for auto blocking. Now of course with the clarity, even if he has those tokens, he's not gonna be able to auto block so long as you keep the clarity up, so you don't really have to worry about that at all. But even then, knowing just how to fight against him is important. So the way you get rid of them, if you do happen to get some, is just bait a heavy attack and then punish it with your own. The window for punishment on his heavy is extremely easy. You just take the first hit and then throw in your heavy between his first and second heavy hit. The delay on the hits is very long, so you have all the time in the world to land your own heavy, which then makes him extremely simple to take. As for the results, we ended up winning the war 4-4, won it on time. So all those fights I took, if I was slow, we would have lost. If I died once, we would have lost. So I'm very happy I managed to clutch out the win here against one of the better war alliances for our team, and I'm hoping the rest of the season will go as smoothly. I don't know why I say it like that, since the season has been done for weeks at this point, but you get what I mean, and on to the next video.